Hey, everybody. Welcome again to Medicine with a Mission, Faith, Family, and the Profession. My name is Paul Waller. I am the president and founder of Christian Sports Medicine Alliance. And again, we are highlighting every day during the month of March a Christian athletic trainer. And we're talking about their faith in Jesus Christ and how that has been manifested in their workplace as an athletic trainer. And we're just kind of organically talking about their personal life and what they do and where they are. So today I have a very special guest. Her name is Jamie Broz. Love the last name. So Jamie, welcome.
Thank you.
Jamie, tell us a little about yourself. Tell us where you are, what you do, and just kind of a little bit about your background.
Sure. Thanks so much. I think this is a totally cool thing to do because I feel like I try to do it on a daily basis. So if we can sum it up, it would be a feat for sure. But currently, I'm an athletic trainer, of course, and I'm at Dayton Children's Hospital, and I manage the sports medicine department. It also includes PM&R, which is fascinating. And we live under the umbrella of a huge orthopedic, division in the hospital, and do a lot of outreach to club organizations. We're not necessarily focused on being in the school on a daily basis, so it is a different concept as far as reaching kids and being a part of more of the youth organizations than strictly in a high school or junior high setting. So.
What did you do before? How long have you been at this hospital?
So I've been at Dayton Children's just for a couple of years. What brought me there was in and around. I can start from the beginning on how I got into athletic training if you want to know. I got into athletic training wholeheartedly from being an athlete, and I know that's a lot of everyone's pathways, but being introduced to athletic training was a I would say like kind of an eye-opening experience. And I sought a program. I went to Ball State as well, and I sought the program out based on the fact that I wanted to continue as an athlete. I was no longer going to do what I was going to do as an athlete, but I was a Christian athlete. And it made sense when I became injured and didn't necessarily have the involvement in the sport, but what I stayed involved in was the Christian portion of it. That I needed to figure out a profession that I could do that, and I could do both. I could help an injured athlete as well as help them to Christ. And so it was something, a lot of people are like, you're amazing. You went to school for 4 years and graduated in 4 years. You didn't change your major. That sort of deal. It was back in the day before curriculum, was everywhere. And so it was definitely something I sought or was led, I would say, called to do. And so after school, I went to Missouri. I was at Ball State for undergrad, Missouri for grad, and started volunteering, doing everything and anything I could to be involved in the Olympic-based sports. I love football, don't get me wrong. I'm from Ohio. And, just knowing that they weren't necessarily, having all the access in the world to athletic trainers and sports medicine. So there was a track coach there that allowed us to, work with the athletes, but was also very, very big on and implementing, Christian-based tactics into the coaching realm, and as well as involving us in that process. So it was again another step. After that, I became a head athletic trainer at a small college that was faith-based, and went from there. And I just kept pursuing, you know, just wherever God was going to lead me next, sort of thing. And the next place I came to was back in my hometown in Cincinnati, where I was an athlete. And into the gymnastics world, where I created, all of the faith-based, platform from which I grew from, and I kind of re-entered into that as an athletic trainer instead of an athlete, and started taking care of the athletes that I knew, and eventually. Kettering Sports Medicine is kind of the mainstay, I would say, faith-based organization that allowed me to work PRN, and try to make money, I guess, while I was out, volunteering with USA Gymnastics. And so I did all that all the way up until 2 years ago. I resigned from USA Gymnastics and took the job at Dayton Children's. So.
How long were you with USA Gymnastics?
I started volunteering with them in 97.
97.
Yeah, so even when I was, in an undergrad and grad, just working on my degrees and my experiences and things like that. So, yeah.
And how have you seen your faith in Christ, through all the changes in the schools and path careers and stuff? How has your faith been challenged? How has it been strengthened? How have you seen it manifest itself in your workplace?
Yeah, so I can tell you that I always put it first, and as hard as it is in our profession, it definitely has been something I've relied on, and my biggest, I would say, a couple leaps and things as far as, should I include it? Should I, not necessarily push it, but should I, make it a part of what I do on an everyday basis? Started when I was in school for it, when I was in grad school for it. The mantra was pretty much work, 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 work. And I tend to do that. And as a worker, I wanted to outwork the athletes that I worked with. You know what I mean? If they were going to be better, it was because they were giving 100% and I was giving 110. And in order to reach that maximum, or that level, or that goal that they had to be the best they can be, I had to incorporate a faith-based program, belief that we were going to get there, together. And it started, one of the challenges is, obviously, how do you incorporate it? And it could be little seeds, it could be little prayers or situations that you go through with each athlete and the relationships you build. But a lot of times what I would do is take off. Force myself, not necessarily to take off, but go on a mission trip, go take a week and be a camp counselor. Anything that I stepped away from work for typically was faith-based, and it was a testimony to my athletes that you've got to put God first, you got to put your faith first, you got to step away and make sure you have a relationship as much as you can with God before you can do anything else. So I think that was kind of like the best way I could handle what God wanted me to do, in my work, was to almost step away and do his work to show the athletes and the work situations that I was in, what I could do.
Because you were in a time with, before you came to Dayton Children's, you were in that media frenzy.
Yes.
And so I'm assuming that during that time frame, your faith was rattled, not necessarily rattled, but it was definitely challenged to its core.
Right. There's never been a bigger, trust walk, obviously, when, you feel betrayed or you feel led down a path that you weren't expecting. I mean, it could be anything. Obviously that situation was pretty hardcore and affected work and personal. Um, and it made you question everything,
Mhm.
should I am I even a good athletic trainer, was what I learned, so questioning myself was professionally hard, as well as personally. I mean, the media, it's different. I think if this would have the past couple years would have happened, at the beginning of my profession, and or the beginning of my faith, it wouldn't have withstand, that's for sure. And that's even without, the media pressures and everything that just really put it in the forefront for everyone that was involved.
During that time, what and it may not be just, excuse me, it may not just be one thing. So maybe like a bunch of things, but if you had to say, is there maybe one thing that you can say for certain that God taught you during that time frame? I don't have to load a question because there's probably a
That
lot.
is, that is. Um, yeah, because I mean it was kind of like a repeat event, not that I needed to, learn it more than once, but it definitely was a hard process to acknowledge. So I would say um, one thing that I relied on was number one, take a deep breath and know who you are.
Mhm.
Um, and that's basically what I would do, if I woke up and the media was hitting me, or if I was getting, bombarded, just stick with it. Like, know who you are, where you came from. You're God's child. You know,
Yeah,
um, He'll bring you through it. Because He brought you to it.
there you go. Yeah. Were you able to, and again, during that time frame, were you able to see your faith on display towards your athletes that you were dealing with that were also going through this time frame with you?
Yes, yes. So it was kind of hard to have multiple encounters, per se, with the athletes I worked with USA Gymnastics, mainly because, like I said, it was like pure in, like they knew me. They knew me well. I mean, I went to the Olympics with the team, that sort of thing. Like you definitely had a close knit group. My contacts were with everyone, so I wasn't necessarily with just one team or one
Mm.
group. And but I know that anybody that I traveled with, all over the place, one of the things I always knew is I'm packing in my bag, I'm taking everything with me, I'm taking my faith, and my journey is going to be, with this team or with these people or with these, in encounters and situations. But I would always, make sure that God was a part of that trip.
Mhm.
And a lot of times we would travel, we would be in a city, and so Sunday, and everybody's like, we can't go to church, we can't do this, there's so many things that I would say I sacrificed as far as a strict typical go to church kind of situation. I didn't have that. So I had to create it, and
Yeah.
anywhere we went I had to create it. I had to know that, like I said, I would just always intertwine it, because we were packing and we were going and we were competing, we were getting on the big stage, we were turning on NBC, that sort of thing. It had to be there, and it could be in the training room, beforehand. It could be late at night, after the competition. It could be on the train, bus or plane or wherever we were at. If we got stuck in a taxi cab and
Right.
running late, or if they got hurt overseas and we had to make it back, my faith, I think, is really what connected,
Mhm.
those athletes, and including their parents too, just knowing, it was a safe place to be.
Awesome. Well, before we close this time with them together, what, if there is one, I mean, some people have multiple, but is there a one verse or verses that you would say is your foundation that you can like, Paul, this is it. This is the one that I always, no matter what is going on in my life, this is the one that is my foundation in my life.
Right. So since you guys obviously know now, I'm a worker, and I like to focus on God's work. I needed something that would always draw me into what I'm doing as an athletic trainer. Why am I doing this work? And Isaiah 40:31 is my favorite. Mainly. And do you need me to say it?
If you know it.
There's so many versions. You asked for so many verses. There's so many versions. I if I know it. So it says that, but those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar, right, on wings like eagles, and they will run and not grow weary, and they will walk and not be faint. And it takes the physical struggle that we see our athletes go through, and it starts off with that spiritual well-being. You start with hope. And so anytime, I'm struggling maybe in my work or in my faith, I think that's like the perfect verse that kind of intertwines those two, the physical strength, the hope in the Lord, and what they can do together when you put them together.
Awesome. Well, Jamie, thank you for doing this for us today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's a great idea. I just love it.
Yeah, thank you very much. And if you're watching this video and you want to learn more about Christian Sports Medicine Alliance, please go to our website at christiansportsmed.org. You can also follow us on Twitter at tweetcsma. If you are also a Christian athletic trainer and you just stumble upon this video and you want to be a part of a group that is specifically for athletic trainers only, and where you can just go and do life, you can share your prayer requests, your struggles, your happiness, your joys, your scripture verses, whatever. On Facebook, it's called Beyond the ATR. And come there and join our Facebook group, and we would love to have you there. So again, this episode will drop. Will be March the 11th, National Athletic Training Month. Jamie, again, thank you very much for joining. I know you live in Ohio. I'm a big Michigan fan, but we'll not even go there.
We'll close it with that.
We'll close it with that. But anyway, well, hey, have a great one.
Thank you much.
Thank you.